Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about WandaVision, and we've got a couple special guests who I'll introduce you to here shortly. Good friends of mine who love talking everything MCU, everything Marvel, and frankly, we're just going to talk about the series and what we're expecting in episode 6. So hope you guys enjoy.
Bring me WolverThor!
All right, so like I said, I got a couple good friends of mine. I've got Eddie and Mike. So welcome both to those guys. These are two of my good buds. We play football together. We see all the Marvel movies together. We constantly talk about Marvel stuff all the time. And now we figured, you know what? Let's do some of this stuff on some video and get weird with it. So do you guys want to say anything? Introduce yourself, say anything. You know, you don't have to. It's up to you guys.
Hey guys, I'm Eddie. Been friends with Thor for a minute now. When we found out that we were all Marvel kind of geeks, or just superhero geeks in general, a friendship was born, and it was
True.
So you forgot that we cry together too.
You know, that is a good point. Yeah, we've cried at movies together, grown men. Not there's anything wrong with that. That's just the way it needs to be. We show our emotions. But yeah, we had some tears. I mean, we go see all these Marvel movies together, and sometimes multiple times in a weekend. So there's some good fun bonds there. So we got WandaVision, which you know the three of us have been texting about. God, I feel like nonstop for the last since it came out about a month ago.
Every single day it feels like.
Yeah, it really is kind of nuts. It's just like, and we'll have like one day go by, or which like we don't talk about it, and one of you guys will say, "Hey, did you guys see this?" Or what do you think about this? And it's kind of like there's so much stuff going on this show, and like I don't know. I mean, to me, like that's the first thing I want to talk about with you guys is like, just generally speaking, what the hell do you think's going on?
Mike, you want to go?
Go ahead.
Oh, cool. Let me just start by saying, so the first two episodes, everybody was like, I don't
So
know. There were so many people I was talking to who just were not on board to start, and this is a 9-episode series.
Yeah.
And when you think about that, you're like, they can't give you everything off the first 2 episodes. If they did, you would lose viewers. Like, I'm happy that this is a 1 per week show. If it was every episode through like the first weekend, we would have talked about it for maybe 2 or 3 days, maybe like a month at tops, and it would have been over. But because it's a episodic and it's a week to week like we're doing back in the 90s, it carries over every week. There's always chatter, there's always discussion, there's always like all these possibilities and wonders that you have in your head about what might happen come next week. I think that kind of adds to the excitement of the series. As far as what's happening, I don't know. I know that I feel like this has to lead to Multiverse of Madness. That's the end game, no pun intended. But that's where it has to go after the series essentially wraps. February, I think, was it like early February? No, or early March, excuse me.
Yeah, I think because we got 3 more episodes left, so
4 more episodes.
One more?
4 including tonight.
Yeah, this is episode 5.
No, it's a 6.
Yeah, I thought there's only 9. Isn't there only 9 in it?
There's 9.
Yeah,
Yes,
no,
there's 4
it's
more.
episode 6. Sorry, I don't know how to count. It's episode 6.
6, 7, 8,
Tonight,
9. Oh yeah, I can't count either. Sorry, I was thinking it's 6 and 9. Okay. No, that's a good point. I mean, and that's the stuff we've been talking about a little bit, where we keep thinking that, just that the manipulation of reality that we think that she might or might not be doing, and if there's somebody else kind of pulling the strings there, that it seems to all be pointing to the Multiverse of Madness. And I don't, while we're talking about this, I want to, do you guys know the release date for that? I know everything's changed with COVID, but
We can take a peek.
when is that?
Not off the top of my head, but I know everything was pushed back almost like months to a year because of COVID. So I think Doctor Strange, because technically they're still filming right now, so I'm guessing it's sometime in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, according to what I'm looking at Google right now, it looks like it's basically a year and a month from now. So
Yeah.
that could be that could be. I mean, it makes sense, right? And she's in it. We know that. And there's all these other people who are supposedly cast in it from all the Spider-Man characters, from Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. So there's
that's the Spider-Man one, not Doctor Strange.
True.
Well, they're actually, well, I mean, you never know with Google, but like it shows them in the cast. You know what I mean? So I don't know if they're really going to show up or not.
No, but I'm saying I think the Doctor Strange is going to be the first intro, and then the one with all the Spider-Man is going to be the Spider-Man Spider-Verse movie.
So
like,
you don't think they're gonna drop any of the Spider-Verse people into that one as well?
I think it's going to be a Spider-Man specific.
You might be right.
One.
So I'm gonna pop something up on the screen. You guys might not be able to see this, but this is just what I Googled. And you might be right, Mike, that it for some reason, and look, it's Google. Who knows where this is pulling from? But for whatever reason, they're saying that they got this giant cast with all these different people in it, including which, Mike's covering her up a little bit, but America Chavez. But I don't want to go down that route too much. But I think you guys are probably right with the idea that this is somehow tying into the multiverse of madness. And I mean, do you guys think it's like? I don't know. I mean, I think the thing that we talk about the most when we're chatting is this Wanda by herself? Is she being manipulated by somebody? I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, I don't know, Mike. I mean, Mike, are you thinking that this is just her?
Mike, take a swing.
It changes almost every episode of that I've seen, especially once we got past those first two, which were very like sitcom-y. Because there's times where she feels like she doesn't know what's going on, and then there's times where it feels like she's controlling the entire thing. Like when the beekeeper first showed up, and she was like, "No," she rewound that on her own. But then there's times where she's like, "I don't understand what's happening right now. I don't know who's controlling it." Even I mean, we'll go back and forth, but even when Pietro showed up in the last episode, Vision goes, "Who's at the door? Who did you bring to the door?" And she's like, "I have no idea."
Yeah. And by the way, I'm gonna pause for 1 second. Anybody, if you've gotten this far and you haven't gotten up to episode 5, and I'll have to cut, like spoiler. I'll probably clip this and put it back at the front end just for anybody who's gotten this point. So anyway, Pietro comes to the door and she says she doesn't know, right, Mike?
Yeah, and she's visually surprised to see him. Like she did not like. There's like when Agatha shows up, I think she knows she's about to show up. That sort of thing. This was the first one that threw her for a loop. So it's I think it's a mix of control and not control.
Do you think there's any chance that her confusion could have been the fact that it was like I forget the actor's name, but the X-Men's version of their universe's Quicksilver?
What is his?
I mean, possibly. They obviously don't show much because it's just kind of basically her looking at him, being like, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
So it's hard to say what someone's mindset is in that aspect. We'll probably know more in this new episode. But if it would be hard for me to think she was confused, even though because she calls them Pietro, like she calls him her brother. She didn't call him like random guy. You know? That's
true. That is true. And did when he came to the door, did she say? I mean, without him saying anything, she was just like Pietro.
His reaction. His reaction was so. I don't want to say odd. It was odd because he didn't really say yes or no. He kind of just shook his head and that was it. Like, there was no confirmation that he was who she thought he might be. That's the part that kind of like threw me a little bit because he never gave a yes or no.
Yeah, what do you think? And now some of the theories I've been hearing a little bit or reading or whatever you want to call them is that it's actually potentially somebody who's pulling the strings behind whatever's going on with her. Do you think there's a chance that, this person was also somehow maybe screwed something up and didn't realize he was bringing the wrong Pietro because that was in a different multiverse? Do you think there's any chance of that at all, or is that just stupid and crazy?
Say that again, just so I can get my words right. So
basically, like, if the theory is true that somebody's pulling the strings besides Wanda, right? Something's happening. The talk obviously is always Mephisto, right? If there's a Mephisto doing something, and for argument's sake, let's just say Wanda might have had the brother come up or show up, and maybe that's why she was confused, and this Mephisto or this person just showed up. Didn't realize that they showed up as the wrong brother, like in in the multiverse she's used to, it was the actor Aaron Taylor Johnson. It wasn't Evan Peters.
Right.
And so that's, this person shows up and it's like, I'm your brother. What's the problem? Do you think there's any potential that that's there? And I'm honestly like, I made that up on the spot just now, but I was thinking about it. I'm like, I wonder if whoever that person is really is, because Mike was right. Like, she looked confused as hell, man. It's like, all right, so I don't know. So I just wondered if part of it had to be with maybe the fact she didn't recognize this person, and the person who showed up, if it was a Mephisto for argument's sake, they just did it wrong. Do you think that's just totally a stupid theory, basically?
I think when he shows up, if I may, Mike, cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
When he shows up, I think it's a way to keep her locked in. There was so many moments in that episode where it felt like she was gonna break her. She felt like she was sort of in control. Like even when she brought like the dog collar out, and she was using her powers in front of her, in front of Agatha or Agnes, excuse me. So that moment felt like it was a way for whoever, if the theory is that she's being controlled, it felt like that was a way to kind of manipulate her to keep her locked into Westview.
Yeah, Westview.
And by using Peter Maximoff from Days of Future Past and those X-Men, I don't know, because they can't use Aaron Taylor Johnson. They had to use him.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, I think one of the things that they've talked about, especially in the dog episode, that I think they're all trying to figure out is, I think she's made it pretty clear that you can't bring someone back from the dead. They kind of like have said that aspect. When the dog died, she was like, we can't bring things back to life, that sort of thing. So I think that's a reality. It's almost the same as I know I'm like going way off, but Black Widow, like she's never coming back in the MCU. Which once she's dead, she's dead. Like, so I think they're not going to do that. I think whoever is controlling this situation, whether it's Mephisto or Nightmare or whatever, I think he's got a handle on the multiverse. Mm-hmm. And he's using it to his power, and this is just it, and it kind of also matches up because I think they're in the 80s, and that Quicksilver in those X-Men movies was in the 80s, so it's not far from that's not far from like a realm of impossibility because it's in the same time.
Yeah.
Especially if all these episodes are in different times. So it kind of makes sense, especially if it's someone who can control multiverses and things like that. So I think the coming back from the dead thing, I think that's played where I think she knows she can't do that, or else she would,
Right. True.
What do you think? I mean, to that regard though, what about like Vision? Like how is, because to me, he clearly has some presence of mind, like it would be weird to me if they were, I don't know. It seems like he's alive. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't seem like he's fully controlled. There's some conscience there. I mean, how would we explain that under that scenario? Like part of me thinks that
well, he's a robot.
Right.
Go ahead, Eddie.
I believe that she's not in control because when she didn't respect, because her and Vision have a connection that is just, they both come from the Mind Stone, essentially.
Yeah.
And they have a connection that is so deep. You'd feel like she would respect his wishes that once he dies to let him stay dead. By breaking in and getting his body, I felt like there was part of me feels like she's being manipulated because you don't see her face in any of those shots where she's breaking in to steal his body. Because even the shot they show where it's not from the camera feed, but actually her in that building, you don't see her face ever. And like you have no idea what's going on if someone else is controlling her, like the way she controlled the Hulk in Ultron.
Yeah.
So like that might be one of the cases too, because I feel like because Vision has no clue what's going on, I feel like that would kill her inside to not know, for him to not know what he's like, where he is, and for her not to be able to tell him. So I feel like she's being controlled in that regard, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, I mean, because so you think that there's the potential there that somebody's controlling her, even to the point where they had her break into the sword facility, take Vision out, and then is it likely that? So, and if I heard you, I don't know if I heard you right, but is that same person who's controlling her controlling like a live vision version of some sort, and like there is some conscious there?
There might be. And you know what? We haven't really like talked about it all. At the end of Doctor Strange, the bonus credit or the bonus the after credits scene. Excuse me, God. What is his name? Mordo. At the very end says, "No more sorcerers." Right? It would be dope if he was at the end of this series and he was doing all this. It would be shocking, but it'd be kind of awesome because
that's interesting.
You haven't seen him for a minute, like in a while. Like, but yeah, I mean, like it wouldn't be shocking if he was the guy doing everything behind the scenes.
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, and that's one of the other things we're going to talk about a little bit about is a potential reveal at the end of the show. I wonder if, and look, we were talking a little bit about that, like, because that's a lot of the chatter right now is who's this potential big reveal. We're talking about, some people are saying that it's going to be Luke Skywalker-esque, similar to the Mandalorian. Spoiler, sorry, that's been out for a while if you missed that one. But
go on now.
I know, right?
Go on now.
We talked about Magneto, right? We were like, that's one of the rumors, which I think ties into fun conversations. Whatever, we'll put that off to the side for now. But if it was the Mordo actor, and it's really Mordo, I mean, God, that would have to be. I'd be very curious to see if they tie in. I mean, I'm not sure I can say his name, the actor's name, right? Wow, Chiwetel.
I think it's Chiwetel Ejiofor, I think.
Yeah, that seems right. So, because we know Paul Bettany said that he's really looking forward to working, or he was really looking forward to work with whoever this reveal person is, right? Wasn't that the comment?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
And it was someone he had never worked with before. So it can't be anybody in the current MCU. And I thought it would be Doctor Strange because he hasn't seen him in the movies. Because when he at the beginning of Infinity War, they were already off in space on Thanos' ship, and then he died before the end of Endgame, or like before Endgame started. Yeah. So they never crossed paths. So that's one reason why it might be him. But I want to see if they've ever worked together in a movie before.
Yeah, I mean, I'll type it in while we're sitting here. That is a potential interesting reveal. When we were talking about the Magneto thing, and I think we mentioned one other person, and if we'd be it was the Doctor Strange one. And we said, if that was a reveal, would you be disappointed? And Mike, I don't think you were. This was when Eddie and I were talking a little bit before we got started. But if Doctor Strange is the big reveal that we get at the end of this series, how would you feel about that? Do you feel, is that like satisfying to you, or?
Well, I think we talked about this even before this show kind of started. I think these shows are going to be kind of bridge gaps to the movies. So it would make sense if Doctor Strange shows up to help and support or like do something, because I think then it leads into the movie coming out, and like things just timeline wise like all make sense. Like I think these are going to be filler shows. I think they're going to be very good, but I think it's going to be a way to bridge the gap from movie to movie and kind of tie loose ends that sometimes movies do, where you're like, why did this happen? Why did this happen?
Right. I agree with that.
So if it is Doctor Strange, it would make sense. But and the way they said like Luke Skywalker, it's got to be obviously some sort of hero type. It's not going to be, if it's. I think if it's Doctor Strange, it's cool. But also, I mean, we've already seen that they've brought in the X-Men universe, and who's to say they can't with that? The other one that I've kind of deep dove into Reddit was possibly Spider-Man.
That would be interesting.
Where Spider-Man comes and helps, and him helping is part of the reason why the multiverse gets screwed up on his end, or something along those lines.
But also, it couldn't be him, because Paul Bettany said it was somebody he had never worked with before, so it might not be Spider-Man either.
I don't think Vision ever worked with Spider-Man.
Oh, that's what they did. No, they didn't.
Yeah, because it was in Civil War.
That's right. It was in Civil War. That's right.
Yeah, they worked together in Civil War. So I mean,
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yes, right. My bad. Never mind. Then that's wrong.
I mean, I could still see maybe a cameo, but I don't think it'll be the quote unquote big reveal, just for that regard. But I have to, when Eddie brought up Doctor Strange, I have to admit that to me, that would be a little disappointing as far as a big reveal. I think it'd be awesome to see him in the show. I'd love that. But for whatever reason, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I just, when I think of Luke Skywalker, like I literally watch this dude who's a huge Star Wars person. You know, I think of like people like Vinny. Vinny's a friend of ours. You know, loving Star Wars so much. And like, I saw this guy on YouTube, like crying as Luke Skywalker, like came out in The Mandalorian. You know what I mean? So when I hear,
moment, man.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, if they're comparing that, I'm like, it almost is like, dude, you are building this up to be like pretty monumental. Like,
yeah.
And I literally
one of the other things, and we talked about it kind of separately, and I think this could even correlate with how maybe Vision is alive, is Ultron.
He's in the cast list. True.
Yeah.
True.
He's in the cast list. He's maybe like a bridge to making Vision alive. Like that, you know, he could also be the bad guy. He could be the one controlling. Like that could be the. I don't know.
Yeah,
like
it
I
could
read
be
that
like a
too, where-
revenge.
It might.
Yeah, because because in Avengers
Age of Ultron. Yeah.
Vision was, he said he went out to kill the last Ultron, but they never show it. So he
Go ahead.
he might have like felt somewhat like bad killing the last robot when he himself is, you know, not a real. So I think there's a chance that Ultron could still be alive and could be a part of it. I don't know. I'm this is deep Reddit shit, but Eddie, you can tell your thoughts.
Also, to keep with the Ultron theory, remember in, I think it was Spider-Man, was it Homecoming? Was when he faced Vulture? Was that the one, Homecoming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he's on the truck and he's going through all that stuff and he finds the Ultron head. Remember that?
Yes.
And the eyes were red. Whenever Ultron was controlling somebody, it was like the eyes were always red. So like, there's a good chance. Like, I'm sure he's still alive. He has to be. Like, that would just be crazy.
Yeah, I can see it.
Also, I have this. I also, in that video in the security footage, we're going all over the place.
It's
But
all
in
right.
the security footage where Wanda is supposedly taking Vision from Sword,
Right.
I think that's possibly Ultron's body, not Vision's. Because why would they be tearing him apart? I don't think.
Have you seen, how close have you looked at those photos though? It looks like,
I mean, they're fuzzy. I saw a close-up one. It's fuzzy as hell. You can't put two and two together. It looks like everything. Like, I think also too, this, we're going all over the place, but I think the Sword guy is actually bad. I think he was trying to make Vision come alive and use him as a weapon.
Right.
okay.
Because he said his living will was not to be used as a weapon when he was living, but they didn't say anything about if he died. So he could be trying to find a way to bring him back to use him as a weapon. But
Something's definitely up with that Sword guy for sure. I don't know what it is, but yeah. I mean, I'm torn. I think it's a distraction though.
Like, he seems like that. Even the first time he was introduced to Monica, when they brought him in, it was almost implied that she was supposed to take over as the head of Sword for her mom, but she wasn't there, so he took over.
Yeah.
And that's like a scummy sort of thing, being like, you weren't here, it's mine. And he just looks like an asshole. And so I think I think he's also partly behind all this, whether he's ends up being like Nightmare or Grim Reaper or like, I think he's something. He just seems like too much of an asshole. You don't cast a guy that looks like an asshole and make him be like a good guy.
Even when you first meet him.
I didn't mean to swear. I forgot I can't swear. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, dude. You're fine.
Even when you first meet him and she goes into Sword for like the first time after being snapped back, her key card doesn't work. And it's almost like that was in place so that he could watch her every step the moment she got back into Sword. Like, he could have easily just been like, all right, your card works again, but he made it so that she had to go to the front desk for him to spot her and then take her through everything rather than letting her go through for herself.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he knows that she's kind of that like curious kind of agent who like goes on a vibe, who goes on one of those things, goes on an idea. Because she did it in the last episode. She did like 3 or 4. There were 3 or 4 moments where she just had like an epiphany, an idea, and then just ran with it, and it happened to work out. You know, with the like with her Kevlar that she was wearing, that when she got brought into the show, even the clothes were like that. You know, she had all these little theories. And also, since we're here, who was she texting?
Wait, when?
Remember in episode 5 when she was like, I might know somebody who can like some kind of engineer who can help
Oh,
us with this, and she
yeah.
was texting somebody.
Yeah.
Who the hell's that?
I was wondering the same thing about that because what they say like bio something or engineer, and she's like, oh yeah, I might.
It was aviation aeronautics or something something like space. I forget the exact word. 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't know it, but but yeah, Eddie, and to that point, I read it could be Mr. Fantastic,
Which would be dope. Oh, which by the way,
Yeah.
has he worked with Chris? There's so many theories on who's going to be Mr.
I was just
Fantastic.
gonna say,
I
we
would
don't
love it
even
if it was
really
John
know, right?
Krasinski.
Yeah.
I would love it if it was Krasinski.
Dude, that honestly, like that reveal. Okay, so I got chills on my body, like right there. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like for me personally, like if they bring in the Fantastic Four to kind of, or like a part of the Fantastic Four in this, that
Right.
for me would be like, I feel them again. Like this time they went down my back. I'm like, oh, like that's the stuff that I want to see, where it's just like this, like fun connection for stuff that we know is going to be coming in the future. Oh man, that would be. And that, you know what, and I think I did see some people like theorizing that there was some like Fantastic Four stuff here with like cosmic energy, and that they could already be existing from the Thanos snap, and just like
Right.
we're not aware of them. And you know, she is that astronaut type, and oh god, that would be awesome. Oh man, you're getting me too excited.
Even that episode where she gets brought back to Sword and she's walking through that giant spaceship. Like, what's that spaceship for?
Yeah.
That's
Like,
two things.
Where's that going?
Right. Two things on that actually. So one thing, there's a theory out too that I saw online about how the snap, since there was actually 1, 2, 3, there was 4 of them, because there was the original Thanos snap when he destroyed the stones, when Hulk did it, and then when Tony did. So there were 4 snaps.
Yep.
And they're saying that might be some kind of bridge to bring in the X-Men into the universe. Like all those snaps opened up like the X gene, and that's what made mutants into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Also, that scene where he's walking her through the hangar felt very much like the beginning of Captain America. Winter Soldier, when he's bringing Cap through through Shield and all the helicarriers that they were creating. That scene felt so similar to that moment in that movie.
Yeah.
You know, like just trying to prevent catastrophes before they happen. Well, yeah.
No, that's a good. No, so we were talking about Monica Rambeau a little bit. I just one scene I want to bring up that we didn't talk about with her is what's up with her and Captain Marvel. Like there was that one little like. You know, I don't know how much you guys looked at her face, but it definitely kind of was like, something's up, right? And when we talked about it, you know, one of the things we were talking about, it could be just based on the fact that, you know, she knew her she was young, then she never came back. Her mom's now gone. She was supposed to be with her mom, all these different things. Is that, like, do you think there's more to it than that? I mean, we know she's technically Photon, right?
Mm-hmm. Mike, you got it.
I mean, by all accounts, she's in the comics, she's Photon or technically Captain Marvel, but I think she hates it. I think she came back and then left her family again. I think she's got like a kind of like you hate us, like you went to save the world. You said you come back, you never did, and you got to think it was 25 or 30 years since she came back. So I think there's like somewhat of like probably like a hatred to her or towards her at least.
Do you think that's being saved for like Captain Marvel 2 more than it is anything in this series?
It would make sense.
Okay.
It would. It wouldn't surprise me either if she believes that Captain Marvel never came back. But when she was snapped away, there's a good chance that she might have visited the hospital. Like she might have had one of those pagers that Nick Fury had if she ever needed help. You know, from Maria. I mean, there's a good chance that she might have had like, hey, I got cancer, I'm about to die. It'd be dope if she might have came. I would not be surprised if there was a scene where Captain Marvel comes back and like they had this kind of like intimate moment where she passes away and she's there for it. That would not surprise me. Yeah. And then there's that hatred from Monica because she feels like she was never around, but ultimately Captain Marvel knows that I was there for your mother's like final minutes. You know,
yeah.
That scene wouldn't surprise me either.
All right, I was just curious. I wanted to share a little bit with that. And Mike, you didn't have anything else there, right?
No, I just think there's definitely a contentious vibe when it wasn't a happy. It was I don't really want to talk about her.
Okay, I got you. No, so the one of the things that I want to kind of work toward or talk about. So we've got Agatha and potentially somebody, or Agnes, sorry, which is kind of like foreshadowing on where I'm going here. But
True.
So we've got Agatha or Agnes in the show. I did it again. And we've got somebody who we think is potentially manipulating this thing, whether it's the we've mentioned all the three that I think the three of us have pretty much talked about, whether it's Mephisto, Nightmare, or Grim Reaper, right? And Nightmare and Grim Reaper could be working for Mephisto, who knows, right? And then we've got Agnes, who we've also talked about being Agatha, the witch, who is also tied in there. Do you get, I don't know, like, do you think these guys are like tied together at all? Like, do you think any of them are working together? Like, what do you think's going on with all that?
Forgot. Mike, you go. I'm gonna look something up real quick.
I think there's a level. It's weird because we've seen Agnes in a couple different aspects of being very knowingly, like she knows what's going on, like she kind of almost like Truman Show, like she's sticking to the character no matter what. And like even this last episode where she was like, do you want to do another take? Like, yeah, it was almost like a, not a fourth wall, but it was like a weird wall that was broken where, but she also acts very weird when Vision came and talked to her and the other neighbor, and she was like, we shouldn't tell him, we shouldn't say anything. Like it was still a point where it almost seemed like she was fighting what she was doing, you know what I mean? But she seems like she's all in on I think with the kids she's especially weird for. So it's a weird aspect to where she may be being controlled by someone or working with someone, but more often than not when she's been around in scenes, it seems like she's trying to be there and trying to play the part and keep things in that world more than take them out of that world.
I got you.
Right.
Eddie, did you find what you were looking up? I've got something on the screen that I can hit up for a moment if you're still looking.
Just a little bit. I know that she's worked with Mephisto, Agatha Harkness, who whose name could be reduced to Agnes. There's actually I believe in the comics, it says that Mephisto claims Scarlet Witch's children were actually fragments of his own soul and then reabsorbed them, and then briefly wiped Wanda's memory of her children in an attempt to help her deal with the trauma. And the way that she deals with the kids in that episode, like she wants to rock the cradle, and then she sprays, I'm not sure, like a perfume, I guess, on them, whatever that was. And
I think it was yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Jasmine. No. It was Jasmine. She said, I think.
Yeah.
Right, and then all of a sudden they start growing, which is not that's not their ability. So I feel like that's a manipulation either of the reality or just of her. And then I don't know, because they only ever grow when she's around, too.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we talk about a lot, where it's like she seems like she's trying to intentionally get them to grow. And I think one of our last like group discussions was related to the dog. And when Wanda came over and was like, and Wanda, the part that really stuck out to me was Wanda specifically saying, no, don't grow up, don't grow up. And I think Agnes was hoping they would, and somehow she kept them from growing up, Wanda. But right. I think you're definitely right. There seems to be something going on there where I don't know. I think that Agnes is trying to get them to get older, and why, I don't know. Maybe it's like you said, working with Mephisto or something. But I'm definitely interested to see how that plays out. And it's weird, like some of the stuff that seems so obvious, like that one to me is like, this is obvious. Like this is just obvious. To me, right. Marvel always then does something that's like, well, then that's not how it's going to play out. You know what I mean? They're gonna, because we know they use the comics for inspiration, but they change it, right? You know what I mean? So I'm very curious to see how they work that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we talked about too is how everyone in the town basically is a missing person or is a person. She's the only one without an identity. True. But the thing that also weirded me out in that little teaser, I think you're playing it in the background, but in that little teaser that they had today, when they're doing the Halloween episode, Vision unpops her, like, which means she's being controlled and hypnotized like everyone else. So there's a weird variable of, is she like,
that's the assumption at least. Sorry.
What's that?
That's the assumption, at least. That's what we think.
That's the assumption. But he did it to another character, and you see him in that clip do it again. So it's just they just keep you guessing with this, like all this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
It stinks. I hate it.
I mean, frankly, I love it, and that's what I was like when we were constantly talking and texting about that. That's why I wanted to do this too, where I was like, dude, guys, we should just like talk about this together, like for a bit, and I'm gonna record it and whatever, and it's gonna be fun. And but to me, and you see some of our other friends, like you guys know Carla, and I see people on Facebook, and they're all like people who like the MCU but maybe aren't as into it as much as we are. I see them sitting there talking about this. I'm like, this is a success. Like what they're doing. Right. And I think one of you guys mentioned earlier, I think it might've been Eddie, who said, how they started slow the first 2 episodes. And at first, while that was annoying, it was genius in retrospect, because it was just enough to be like, what's going on? Like, what's happening here? And it was like, and you knew you wanted to keep going. Now, if they did that for 3 or 4 episodes, all right, we'd be like, all right, this sucks. Like, come on, guys, like, get to something here. But they did, right? They just did just enough to be like, this is, I don't know. So, yeah, that was kind of a tangent there, but
I think what helped in the first 2 episodes was definitely the moments where it was like there was a rewind, like the moment when she sees the beekeeper and she goes no, and it goes back. And then the scene where Vision kind of has that thought, and then she like does like a jump cut, and you're like, whoa! Like those 2 moments there were like, okay, I'm definitely invested, because like that was a weird thing that happened. Like, why would that go down like that? Yeah. That's what did it for me, at least. That's what I felt like kind of kept me tied into the first 2 episodes, because everybody. It's slow. I don't know if should I keep watching? Yes. Just be patient.
I'm literally like, so in this, what do we got? A few hours our time. We're all Pacific, and I'm like, am I gonna stay up to watch it? Yeah, probably. And then honestly, if we're all up, if we've all watched up, I'm like, you guys watch yet? And this is how it works for all 3 of us. We've got this group chain. You guys watch it yet? Yes. All right. We wait for the 3rd person. You watch it? No, don't spoil it. And then the other 2 people will take it offline and text just each other until the 3rd person. Then we talk about it again. And
usually me at 1:30, like, yes, and then no one's awake.
Yeah. And then I wake up at like 6 in the morning. I'm like
a text at like 12:42, which is an exact episode time, and it's like, oh my god.
I will watch it twice tonight, guaranteed.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of, and this is kind of transitioning the end a little bit, but so what are your guys' expectations for episode 6, whether you watch it tonight or tomorrow? Like,
real quick, what was that clip that you had up, the comic book?
Oh yeah, so I'll before we go to that, so I popped it up again. So I've got it's just a comic book shot of WandaVision and Agatha Harkness looking at the kids, and it says, but is the weird part is it says this. I'm gonna read a little bit of it here, so bear with me, guys. This is Scarlet Witch talking. Agatha Harkness, but you're dead. You were buried you were burned at the stake. And then Agatha says, and a terrible inconvenience it was, my dear, even to the true witch such as myself. But I am not here to discuss that. It is your children which concern me. And it points to the children. And she says Thomas and William, which are obviously the name of the kids in the show, Wiccan and Speed.
Tommy and Billy.
Yep. All right. Yeah. So William, Billy. What do you? And Scarlet Witch is going, what do you want with them? And Agatha says, to understand them, child, to understand their presence, their precise nature. And then Scarlet Witch says their nature, with their only children, normal in every way. And then Agatha says, normal Wanda, with a mother who is a mutant and a father who is a synthezoid. No child, no. They are far from normal. And had I not been busy with the matter of my resurrection, I might have sensed as much sooner. But you already know yourself that when you are not thinking about them, they disappear. So there's this. So and this is from the comic. So it's, again, there's some inspiration there. I'm very interested to see. I don't know what the rest of I have not read this particular comic, but when you search for this Agatha, or kids, Wanda kids, Agatha, this is what pops up. So, it's an interesting kind of, I don't know, play off of her a little bit. So did you want to elaborate on that at all?
Good.
Yeah, I think the kids definitely are important. Also, too, looking at your video teaser that keeps popping up, for this Halloween episode that they're doing, they're dressed as like the comic book version of themselves, and
Right.
Agnes is dressed up as a witch.
Exactly.
True.
Which again, with Marvel, you always know
they could be playing, but they also like, if it looks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck.
Probably a damn duck. Let's be.
Yeah, I feel you.
Also, the thing I find interesting is going back to the last episode where Vision's kind of cognizant. We're going all over the place. I apologize, but
Good.
That's all good.
Vision's like, where are the other kids in this Halloween thing that they show? There's other kids trick or treating.
After 6 episodes, when the first 2 were for the children, what the hell was that about? Because now we're finally seeing kids in the episode that weren't there in the first 5.
Right.
But like there was a specific dialogue catered to that idea for the children. Like, who? What? There's no kids in this neighborhood. Like, there's none here. Yeah. So you have to wonder like where those kids came from, and even if they're even real at all. Like,
right.
No, and by the way, there is a tie with Agatha Harkness to the Fantastic Four too. By the way, just throwing that out there. In the comics, there is a link there. We don't necessarily dive into it now, but it could play into that a little bit. So
I also want to say in regards to that comic book you read, how Agatha has mentioned her as a mutant. Bringing in that Quicksilver from the X-Men MCU, that normalizes mutants in their world now.
Yeah.
True.
Like, you can't use the term mutant now. Before, because it wasn't owned by them. Now now mutants can be a normal thing that you can have in their worlds.
Right.
If he's considered a mutant. So I think that's one. The other thing that and we're going all over the place, but something else I read is in controlling her mind, all of the commercials that they've done have been towards things that have happened in her past.
True.
So, the Stark commercial, the Hydra commercial, the Lagos commercial is where she killed Black Panther's dad.
No. That wasn't where she killed his dad. That was where she just. That was when she killed people that were just in a building, but it wasn't his dad.
Oh, that's right.
He was killed. He was killed before.
Crossbones. He killed Crossbones.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
But all of these things have been tied to her past, especially dark things in her past. So it's a weird. They're doing a very good job, because we just can talk about weird theories all day long. But I think there's
very true.
It almost makes me think that she might be she might be like asleep right now, just in dreaming. That's why it might be nightmare. You know what I mean? She's having these commercials of all these past things that are also specifically catered to like negative things.
And the Strucker watch too. That one, the Strucker watch.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. All of them are negative things in her past that are turned into commercials, which makes me think that maybe, like, again, we've talked about a couple different ones, but Mephisto, but Nightmare is another one that could be a part of it. Like, it could be a twofer, it could be all these people acting as one towards her.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, and they've got some Grim Reaper. There was a Grim Reaper helmet in one of the intros or something, and on a necklace of Agnes. So, there's these little hints, which again, with Marvel, I feel like they do that to you so you can gravitate towards it, and then come out of left field and smack you on the head with something that makes sense, but it's not that. So I'm like, what are you doing? I don't know which way, and it's just so
they put in great Easter eggs just as an Easter egg, and it has nothing to do with anything.
Exactly. Sometimes it's just a shout out to that world. You know what I mean? Just for comic nerds to do what we're doing exactly right now. You know what I mean? It's just
it's the same thing to do with the license plates in Spider-Man. Like, if you watch a lot of the Spider-Man movies, they have license plates that are catered to the comic book numbers, and they put them in there just because it's a nice little nod to the comics. And usually because it's there, it deals with the scene that's currently happening, which is pretty cool. I like that a lot.
No, I agree. So I'm curious what you guys are hoping for and expecting out of episode 6.
To find out who Ralph is.
Ralphie, huh? That's it.
Agnes's husband, who apparently is real, but we have no idea who this guy is.
Yeah.
apparently he's a problem for her, but he's that husband. But we have no idea who he is.
Yeah, do you think? I mean, that's the highest on your priorities out of episode 6?
It's not the highest, but like I think it's definitely a curiosity. I mean, it's the same way that Quicksilver was mentioned in 2 different episodes. I mean, and then we finally see him in some sort of resurrection or recasting, and then but she mentions Ralph almost every episode.
Yeah,
and we still have no idea who this person is.
Yeah.
That makes me think it's possibly Mephisto. Like you never see him, but he's behind, everything.
Ooh,
he's the puppet master. He's the one pulling the strings.
Yeah, I could see that. So, what about you, Mike? You got any hopes and expectations? And
I want some more questions answered. Like just what's going on, and maybe to just get to even get a better grasp. Even if we don't get like many answers to who the bad guy is or anything like that, maybe get a better grasp of even if like what type of reality this is. Whether it's a her controlled reality, whether it's someone controlling her, whether just like something even simple. Because I think after this episode, we have 3 more episodes and they're all around the 30-minute mark. So they're going to have to like answer some questions fairly soon.
Do we know for certain that every episode's 30 minutes, even though like the last one or two?
No, the last one was 42 minutes, I believe. So they're different episodes, but all of them, I think, on average, are in the 30 range. Yeah. But last week was the longest episode because they did like the after credits thing.
Right. Which, not to mention too, every episode's been 30 minutes, but it's also been like 5 minutes of credits in the back half of the show. Which
longest
is like
credits ever. So it is like a movie.
They do 2 versions of credits. They do like the WandaVision and then like the Marvel WandaVision.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's...
I maybe just get a little bit more answers on one aspect. Like if we learn what's going on with Vision, I don't think we'll learn what's going on with Vision just yet.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think that'll be for a little while.
Can't wait to see that scene where he breaks through the wall. I'm sorry, I'm so excited for that. Go ahead.
No, just a little bit more answers. If they keep kind of messing with our minds, I'm just gonna not get annoyed. I'm still gonna love it, but I'm just gonna be like, come on, like. And to answer your point, when we talked about it earlier, doing the every week episode is like the old school of like the TV shows because we're so used to binging.
So true. True.
I think it's a level of you get like the Mandalorian. They've kind of brought it back with the Mandalorian. It gives it like even talking about it goes back to like the final couple seasons of Game of Thrones, where you would just wait every Sunday and just be like, what's happening next?
Yeah.
I hate it because I would love to just binge it all, but at the same time, it's genius because you just you just keep like going deep into it. Like I would stay up all night if I was able to binge it,
Yeah, for sure. Like nonstop watching it.
I also feel like I feel like binging too kind of takes away it kills the memory for us, because like I'll tell you, I binged Brooklyn Nine-Nine over the COVID quarantine, right? Yep. I couldn't tell you like what episode I loved the most because they all kind of blended together. Yeah. But like with this one, because we're forced to watch it week to week, you remember the episode because you're forced to sit with it for a week and then go to the next one. So in that regard, it's super dope. That's why I'm kind of up and down on binging. So I like the one.
But I think Disney's going to do that from now on. I think they've seen how much like popularity, like every show that comes out in that thing will be a week to week episode.
Yeah, totally agreed. They'll give you 2 up front and then week to week. I mean, they've done it with Mandalorian. They're doing it with this. I'm sure they're going to do it with Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like
March 19th.
Yeah, I know. So I'm actually starting to get a little bit more excited about that. But that, depending on how we like this and how we're doing it, that could be another conversation for another day. So
true.
So for me, for episode 6, I'm just thinking about it. Even though they're only like 30-ish minutes, I'm kind of like, I think we're only gonna get a little bit tonight. I hope I'm wrong, but I think it's gonna like just expand a little bit where that we still have a lot of questions left, and they're just gonna like pull us along a little bit more. I hate saying that, but I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I just feel like that's what's going to happen. Like it's going to end, if it's even going to be in this episode, like, you mentioned when Vision goes through the barrier or whatever, which by the way tells me again, like he's clearly alive or something's happening there, or he wouldn't do that. Or if he does do that, then he's just going to fall over once he gets out. and just be like,
Well, the next shot was him like falling to his knees. So
Yeah,
like, you don't really know.
yeah, exactly. So you're like, okay. So, you know, I could very much see that could be like the cliffhanger of the episode, which I'm gonna be like, oh my god, like, are you kidding me? I have to wait for a week now to see what happens next, like, for real? But yeah, so we'll see. I don't know. I'm stoked. I mean, we've got like 2.5 hours still till this show is on tonight, but I'm trying. Maybe that's a temper of expectations, but clearly we love it. It's fun. I mean, we've talked about it for a while already tonight. We talk about it nonstop on our text chain, so I don't know. You guys got anything else to kind of throw out there before we kind of sign off?
I would love to see a James E. Woo spinoff, kind of like what they did with Coulson, but with Woo. I think that'd be kind of dope because I feel like he deserves, because that come up with the card trick, that was pretty dope. And like, you have
I
to,
didn't even
you got to
catch it. You guys were the ones who got me on that one. I was like, that's
The
good.
second he did that, I laughed like
So hard.
I giggled because I was like, he did it.
It's so true. And you guys are like, oh, he did it? And I was like, I rewatched it, and it's so slight. And I was like, I didn't even see it when you guys were talking about it. And I'm like, yeah, honestly, right?
Yeah.
And then when I saw it, I was kind of like, all right.
Ant-Man and Ant-Man 2 has been being replayed on like TBS or TNT or one of those channels, and I've been like, just have it on as dead, and every time he's like messing up with Matt, I just
That's hilarious.
Sorry.
That's
My
hilarious.
bad, didn't mean to swear.
No, you're okay.
but-
You're okay.
No, yeah, it's gonna be wild. It's gonna be interesting, and I honestly, if they keep confusing us more, it's gonna just suck me in even more. And it better be like a great, like if there's a Luke Skywalker type ending, I'm all in.
I would die.
I'm gonna be so excited. I'm gonna be so excited.
Because I watched that one at like 1 a.m. and I like couldn't go to sleep.
Yeah, that's how
After
excited
I-
you were. Yeah.
I texted
I was
everybody.
just like,
knew.
I can't believe they did that. I was
Yeah.
like, that's so cool. I was like, I didn't expect that at all.
And just the scene of him walking through everything, and just it's such a great scene.
Yeah,
Oh
we'll
my
see.
God.
I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed for something like that. I don't want to get too hyped because, like I said, Doctor Strange, I'm like, yeah, it's cool. I like it. Mr. Fantastic, getting the chills down my back. I can feel that just because that to me is like,
Mordo too. It's also an option.
Also, the only other thing I want to say too is Elizabeth Olsen looks hot in every decade they've
Every decade.
Mike, you
Even-
trying to swipe right on Elizabeth? Is that what's going on right now?
on every year, the 50s, the 60s, pregnant in the 70s, she was hot as heck. I'm all in on every generation or every decade of Elizabeth
So
Olsen. She
anybody
is-
who might be watching this, if you got any connects, let us know. Mike is looking to maybe take her out to dinner or something. COVID safe, of
would-
course.
COVID safe.
I would even unsafe. I don't care.
Mike just wants to take her to dinner.
Just
so.
kidding.
Yeah. He's
But no,
down.
it's phenomenal how pretty she is in every
Yeah.
episode.
No, I've been actually very impressed with not just that, her acting, and on top of that,
She's
I've
just
kind of
awesome.
been like,
Her character's just awesome. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know whether you like hate her or like her because she could be like doing this in a very selfish way at the end of this all.
yeah.
So it's like she could be the villain, but you kind of like sympathize or like, or you know what I mean? Like, we all keep thinking there's maybe someone undermining it. Maybe she's just going nuts.
It could be House of M style, you know what I mean? And like to that acting part, you know, Eddie, you might know Eddie acts, and he's actor. And but one of the things that, you know, as a non-actor, like when I'm impressed with is all the different decades that she acts within. And then when I noticed, I was like, where's her accent? Why did she lose her accent? But if you
She had
notice,
it for a second in the last episode.
when she
For a
came
minute.
out,
She did.
when she came out of the barrier,
she had more of an accent.
exactly.
Right.
So I'm like, she's doing some hardcore acting, in my opinion, on this show. Where I'm like, oh man, she is really giving you a bit of like every different persona here, and to me, that's, I don't know, I love it. So yeah, Mike gave the initial shout out to her. I definitely. She's earning her paycheck for sure on this show. So,
But I gotta wonder why she wouldn't do the accent at all. And then she had it in Ultron, kind of lost it over the movies, and then like didn't have it in this, and then had it for that moment in the movie, or I'm sorry, in that episode, and then went back to being her normal, like, I guess, American.
Well, so she was actually interviewed not too long ago, and they brought that up, and she said in it, and maybe later you guys can look it up, but she said she's like she still has the accent, but she's been around, these people. It's kind of like, I mean, I'm from Massachusetts. People like if you have you can like somewhat lose how you say things if you're around people who are talking somewhat normally.
Right.
So she said she was like, oh no, she'll have the accent. But I didn't realize my computer's about to die.
House tour, nice.
But I think her accent that she did when she came out is how it's gonna be. From now, like that's her real accent, Yeah. And also she plays on a TV show, so she's doing like the American wife accent, like that sort of thing. So she's not gonna show it in all the episodes.
No, and she did have it. Remember at the end of Endgame when she was with Thanos? I feel like she had it at that point. So I think it is very much one of those things where she has it at sometimes, but when like her true anger and just natural self come out as Scarlet Witch or Wanda, it does bust out a little bit, like it did in this.
Yeah, but if she's like a '50s homemaker wife, she's not going to have a Russian accent.
That's right.
Like, so I think it'll come back once we get like maybe the real modern day Wanda, or even the one that came out of the bubble. But it's cool nonetheless. Also, the bubble reminds me of Black Panther's bubble.
Yeah, maybe she picked up the technology there and somehow fused into her brain.
Or someone did. You know what I mean? Like, to hide a complete world hidden from basically the open is exactly what Wakanda is.
Yeah.
So
and no one knows
know
it's
if
not there.
Wakanda technology, like
that would be
kind
interesting.
of assisting in this
I didn't
world.
even think about that. It'd be interesting.
And no one knows it's not there. I'm curious how like people outside of Westview are like, wow, it doesn't exist, and you're like, are you serious? Because there's a sign right there.
Yeah, I know. It's so weird. So anything to wrap up that you guys want to add before I sign us off here?
Please, man.
Okay.
I really am.
Just looking forward to 2 hours from now.
All right. Yes, same here. So if anyone's still watching, I know we were talking for a bit. We were catching up on about 5 episodes, sharing some of our theories, all kinds of fun stuff. Hopefully we gave you some semi-entertainment or some thoughts that maybe you hadn't thought of before. We're all looking forward to episode 6 here in a couple hours, and maybe we do this again. Maybe we don't. I don't know. We'll see. So appreciate you guys stopping by. Hammer down that like button, notification bell, subscription button if you want. Got a link to the Discord in the description below. I always post links to the YouTube videos and, for other stuff that we might do MCU related. So appreciate you stopping by, and hope you have a wonderful day. See ya.
Thanks for watching.